Hello everybody, welcome to the Daily Sip. My name is Oliver. My mission is to bring you closer to organic Japanese green tea, and today we are in the beautiful Swiss Alps enjoying some delicious matcha, and the topic of today is actually looking at the 5 tips how to improve your matcha latte. Matcha latte is something which is quite common, referring to the tea. Matcha and the latte is mixing matcha, which is green tea powder, made with latte or with milk. And today we're going to really dive into how you can improve your matcha latte or even have a more decent, better tasting matcha latte at home. So when we look into matcha latte, the first ingredient is clearly the matcha itself. While there are different types and different qualities, you can really choose for a matcha latte a different matcha than when you drink the matcha pure, meaning that we have a look at, for example, this beautiful ceremonial matcha, which is from an Okomidori cultivar. So you can see this beautiful green color, quite beautiful. But what is the difficulty of some ceremonial matcha is that they're so soft, they're so sweet and so delicate in its taste that the milk itself can overpower the matcha. That's why we are suggesting that you're using a Yabukita matcha, which is also looking a little bit similar to this one too, but you really have to look for this type of green tea because the Yabukita itself is a little bit stronger, a little bit more powerful in its vegetal notes, and the Okomidori, which you have seen here, is a little bit smoother, a little bit kind of rounder, softer, beautiful to drink pure, but as soon as it touches the milk, then this complexity is more pushed away and the matcha becomes a little bit more flat when you drink it as a matcha latte. Therefore, we would suggest you to really look out, if you want to stay in the realm of ceremonial grade matcha, to really go for the Yabukita matcha if you want to do a latte, or you even go to a latte grade matcha. So when we compare these two qualities, you can see there's clearly a quality difference in the color. So here we have the latte grade matcha and here we have the ceremonial grade matcha. So there is quite a quality difference. But where does this quality difference come from? So when we are looking into a latte grade matcha or a culinary grade matcha or a matcha which is mainly, well, its main purpose is to be used either for latte or for culinary purposes like small cake, cupcakes, or small little creams you want to offer to your guests when you're cooking for them and you want to make a nice matcha dessert. So there we are talking about a late harvest. Often it is mixed of a third or even the fourth, so the autumn harvest, or when you go a little bit higher in quality, you can go around the second mixed with the third harvest. And what is happening in the second harvest is that in the first harvest the matcha is shaded. This pushes two things especially. So we're pushing the chlorophyll mixed with the caffeine, so the caffeine content in a ceremonial grade matcha is higher. So if you're looking for the highest caffeine kick in a matcha, then go for the ceremonial grade. And secondly, the shading actually, so this is the covering of the tea plant, pushes also the amount of amino acids, mainly L-theanine. When you're looking for the detoxifying, so antioxidants, or you're also looking for a little bit more kind of an affordable matcha, then the culinary latte grade matcha could be absolutely an option for you. This is also what we suggest when you're starting out with matcha or matcha latte, or in the area of preparing your own latte at home. Then go for the culinary or latte grade matcha in the first place, and then maybe try on the later stage the ceremonial grade matcha. The good thing about the culinary matcha is that they're actually having this nice vegetal, a little bit pushy taste, which you're needing to kind of balance your matcha latte in a nice way in your latte. And the second thing is that it is a little bit more astringent, this matcha, so the amino acids, they kind of balance out the astringency. So when you cover the tea or you shade the tea plants, then you have a nice balance between astringency and sweetness of the tea, or even the astringency very much dimmed down, like with the Okomidori. It's a very sweet and smooth tea. But when you're using a latte, so when you're using a milk which you're mixing with your matcha, then you have kind of balancing out, thanks to the sweetness of the milk, the more astringent taste, and that's why for a latte, for kind of a matcha latte, you can absolutely go for a more astringent, a little bit more bitter matcha. Good. So this is actually the first one I wanted to talk about. Then when we go into preparing your matcha latte, then one thing which is very important is that you go or use a plant-based milk like this one here. Here, for example, I have almond milk, which is an organic almond milk I bought at a bigger retailer here in Switzerland. It's oat milk, so I personally like a lot oat milks because they kind of have a certain sweetness with them, but they're also beautiful in terms of kind of the cereal note, giving a little bit kind of a cereal sweet taste to the matcha. You can absolutely go also for rice milk is also a good option, soy milk obviously. Almond milk is also an option. With the almond milk you have to take care a little bit that the matcha is not too astringent, because if it is stronger in its astringency and the almond milk is a little bit weaker in its own taste, they're a little bit softer and a little bit finer, a little bit more watery, then the power of the taste of the matcha is coming more to the front, which can be very nice. But when the matcha is too astringent, then the almond milk is not able to level this out in a nice way. That's why for me, I'm always going for the oat milk when I'm choosing to go for the matcha latte. Why don't we use dairy milk, also called cow milk? The reason is that you have actually the protein which is in the cow milk or dairy milk. This one inhibits a little bit the effect of the antioxidants, so it dims down a little bit the positive effects of the matcha, and that's why I personally would suggest you to really go for a plant-based milk. When you want to absolutely use plant-based milk, is absolutely no problem. What is nice about dairy milk, is that actually there you can create a very beautiful foam, which is then thanks also to the higher protein content of these milks versus plant-based milk. But all in all, if you want to have the maximum health benefits of your matcha, go for a plant-based milk. Then when we go into preparing your matcha, which I will do just in a moment, one important thing is that some people told us that sometimes the matcha is a little bit diluted, it's a little bit lower down in terms of taste, especially over time, and you let it sit for a little bit and you drink it over a certain amount of time. And this is mainly, especially when you go into cold matcha, to the ice cube. So what you can use to cool your matcha is a simple ice cube like this one here. But what you can actually do is just preparing a little bit of matcha and fill your ice tray with matcha in the tray itself. So you actually have the matcha in forms of cube. You just put it overnight into the freezer, and the next day you get beautiful ice cubes like this one here. That's a super tip, because then you really have actually matcha diluting your matcha latte, so the matcha gets even a little bit stronger, and that's a very nice effect, and you keep the taste at the same level, or you can even intensify a little bit. If you want to kind of level this, you can even take oat milk and put it in the ice tray, and then you can mix it with one oat milk and one matcha cube, and then you have the same amount of both ingredients which go into your matcha latte, and you don't lose any taste of your matcha latte. This was now tip number 3. 1, the type, 2, the plant-based milk, and 3, these cubes. Now, when we go into the 4th tip, and now I'm going into the preparation of a matcha. What you actually can do is that you make a little bit more of a thicker matcha paste, the so-called koicha matcha. Koicha matcha is normally prepared in the typical and well-known ceremony or tea ceremony. It is a thicker matcha paste. It is a little bit less used in terms of water versus matcha. So normally when you prepare matcha, you use 2 to 3 ounces. Maybe you go with 1 ounce when you're preparing your matcha latte. But with the koicha you even go lower to 1 ounce, so maybe you use a half an ounce, and it really creates the thicker matcha paste, which I will do just now. So what I will go for is my culinary matcha this time, and I'm gonna sift the matcha. So let's do this first. So just for you to see, I have now my matcha powder in here, and then I'm gonna just sift it through. Voila, get rid of all these clumps. This is a normal thing that happens when it gets a little bit humid and the tea, the green tea in general, absorbs a little bit the humidity of its surroundings. It doesn't lower the quality, it's just something that happens. No big deal. Just important that you get rid of these clumps, and that's it. Voila! Good. Now, we use very little water, so I prepared here just some water, and you will see how little I put in here. Just very little. And then we're gonna use the Chasen. What you can also use is the milk frother, always a good tool to use. But now let's mix this matcha. Just scrape off from the sides so you can see. I will show it to you. The lighting is a little bit, we're outside, but you might see that there's a small paste in it. So it's very, very, it's only moving little bit. I can even put it like this, it doesn't come out immediately, so you can see it's a really thick paste which I created. And now what we have is that we have quite a high concentrated water with matcha, while the water amount is so low that actually now the main taste is coming from the milk. So what you can do is that you just use then your plant-based milk. Freshly open it. Good. And then we just pour a little bit here to mix it. Here I take now the spoon. And then gonna swirl it a little bit more. And then we have a beautiful latte already. If you want to bring a little bit foam in it, you can also use your milk frother. And you see that there's nice foam forming here. And then you just fill it up with some more milk. And as said before, we're gonna use the matcha cubes to just bring a little bit more this matcha flavor inside, and your matcha latte is done. So very, very simple. And here we come actually already to the fifth tip, which you can use, and this is what I just did before. So important is, as you saw, I tried to really dilute the matcha well, and that it dilutes well, you really have to get rid of the clumps. So you could see before I was using the sifter. Sifter is a very important tool for creating a very nice matcha powder, so it gets really fine and dilutes very, very well in the water. Then you have to whisk it well. Either you whisk it with the Chasen, which I did in this session here, or you whisk it with the milk frother. In my opinion, the easiest tool, easiest to get. Also, if you don't have a Chasen or a bamboo whisk at home, this one's super easy to get at any supermarket. And the other thing is really that you create a little bit of matcha paste with the koicha. You mix it with the milk, and then you just pour a little bit of milk, you swirl it, put it in the glass, fill it up with the rest of the plant-based milk you're using, and then you're actually having a great, decent matcha. So this was this. So to remember, the 5 tips are: first one, use the right type. If you want to go ceremonial, try to go for Yabukita, otherwise use the culinary grade matcha. Saimidori or Okumidori are a little bit too soft. I suggest you to really stick with the Yabukita. Then the second is the plant-based milk. If you want to have the full benefits of your matcha, then go for a plant-based milk and then choose which type you like the most. Then the third one is the cubes, so matcha cubes or even oat milk or plant-based milk cubes, which you can create and not using normal ice cubes to water down your matcha. Then the fourth is to make the matcha paste really thick with the koicha matcha. You reduce the amount of water and then enjoy it with the maximum amount of plant-based milk while having a smoothly and finely prepared matcha with a decent, very small amount of water. And then the fifth is really you get rid of the crumbs, of the clumps, to really have a very smooth and then soft tasting matcha, also in terms of texture, that you have no small clumps in the matcha which then might disturb you, or even when you bite on them might be too astringent. So then you can really balance out very well your matcha. You can either do this with the chasen or you do it with the milk frother. These are the two tools I use most of the time. Now I use both, but you can use either or. Good, so this was this. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you like this one here. I'm now moving down into the city again, so enjoying some fresh air while tasting a great cup of matcha latte. Thank you, cheers, and bye bye.